On this episode of One on One, we're going to sit down with the newly elected mayor of Thibodaux, Clement. We're going to find out what makes him tick. We're going to go down memory lane. Where did he get the desire to even run for mayor? He's done so many things in the parish. We always joke, does he have a twin? Because you used to see him everywhere. But we're going to sit down with the mayor and find out what's it all about. What's his goals? What's his intentions as mayor? And we'll talk a little family, and we'll talk a little past. It's all next on One on One. One on One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. All right, welcome back to One on One. Mayor, let's go down memory lane. I know me and you are around the same age, but just for the audience, take me back to the earliest years you can remember and paint a picture for me. What's the earliest years you remember?
I can tell you this side of the story. We talking about our families earlier, and I had a Clement family where I had so many aunts and uncles and cousins. I really didn't know them all growing up. On the Barrios side, my mom's side of the family, I was the only child and was the only grandchild. So I had the best of both worlds, right? I say all the time, when I wanted noise and activity, I went with the Clements. When I wanted to be by myself and always win the games, because I always played against my imaginary friends, I always figured out how to win. I went on the Barrios side of the family. So those are the days I remember growing up, I guess maybe 5 or 6 years old, playing against myself in the football arena or in a basketball court. Those things I remember. And then I remember growing up in middle school. Middle school was trying a little bit for me because my parents had split when I was in 5th grade. But I still say that was probably a blessing for me. I grew up with 3 moms. I had my real mom, I had my grandmother, and then I had my aunt, who she had no children, and she was married and had no children. So I was fortunate. I was blessed to grow up with 3 moms.
That Clement family, you're right, such a big family.
Yes.
Everywhere you turn, there's a Clement.
Yes.
So is that all one family, or are there different branches of Clements, or did they all come from one?
In Thibodaux, we're all one. There's a huge Clement contingency from Chack Bay. Don't think we're actually related to them. We know each other just by the course of living next to each other, for years and years. But
I didn't know the Barrios family was part. Is that Mark Barrios in that group?
No.
Different family?
Yeah, no relation to the Houma Barrioses. The Barrioses came from Labadee. And then we worked our way to Thibodaux. So, but the Barrios family was close-knit and small.
But the Clements, you're right, strong personalities.
Yeah.
So I guess the family reunions were quite interesting.
The family reunions were always around food, right? We had Thanksgiving, we had Christmas, we had Easter celebrations, stuff like that. And we all went to 1 or 2 houses. And we had a group of us that were in Baton Rouge. Sometimes we'd go over there. We had an aunt who married and moved to Baton Rouge, so we'd migrate over there every now and then for Christmas. Fun times, totally different than the quiet times that Kevin Clement was used to have when he was by himself as the only child. Because when you went over there was loud talk, there was Pedro games, there were pool tables, just fun, just the normal.
But as an only child, it's funny that an only child would get into the fray of politics.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, because if you venture off into that Clement side and they sort of toughen you up a little bit, politics is quite easy.
I'll give the toughening up part to Chris Clement and Blake McDonald, because I was always a little bit younger than them. And when I'd go on that side of the family, I would always I would get beat up. I was the kid they would pick on. And I can remember Blake McDonald chasing me around with a fire extinguisher or running around the neighborhoods. That was just the things we did back then, In the late 60s and early 70s, they picked on the little kid, and I was the little kid, or the youngest kid anyway. Definitely did tough me up. My problem was I had nobody to come back on the Barrios side and do the same thing too. I just got one raw end of the deal.
I forget that Blake's on that side, because I played against Blake when I was at Vanderbilt and he was at Edie White. Absolutely. He was one tough cookie.
Absolutely. As we got older, I kind of caught up with him a little bit, and every now and then I'd give him the business, but he always got the best of me. Yeah. He always, to this day, he lets me know.
Where did you get the personality? Because since I've known you, in order to be a public official, you got to be able to go and talk to people and shake hands and get along with people. And
Yeah.
you've always been like that. Where did that come from?
Probably my dad. My dad could talk to anybody. My dad is known at St. John Church as the priest gives him communion, he's sliding him a peppermint. Okay, that's just my dad's. That's his personality. He was able to talk to people. My mom was a little bit about that. She's passed for several years, but she was well known in the community and she was well loved in the community. She had that type of personality. How it came out of me and how I became so normal, that's a great question. I just think I like life and I like to be involved and I like to learn about you and I like to learn about your situations and I like to tell my story sometimes.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. You ever see those commercials that we become our parents?
Yeah.
And they're so funny.
Yeah.
But you're sitting there watching them and you're going,
Absolutely.
that is so true.
Absolutely.
But there's a spot where you always fight your parents, say, oh, I'm not going to be this, I'm not going to be that. And then one day you wake up and you go, my daddy used to do that. Oh, my mama used to do that.
Yeah.
Do you catch yourself?
Not only do I catch myself, but my wife Becky tells me that all the time. She said, that's just like your dad. You're just like your dad. Sometimes it's a compliment, sometimes it's meant in jest, but we catch ourselves doing that. Yeah. Maybe that's a good thing because those old people, if they're still around today, they had some qualities that you want to inherit.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet Becky?
Met Becky at Nicholls State. Becky is actually from Jackson, Mississippi. I think she moved to Thibodeau when she was 2 months old, but I consider her a foreigner. She's we pick on that all the time. Met her at Nicholls State, probably got to know her and really fell in love with her through the church on campus. We'd go to Mass every day, and during Lent, we'd go at 12 o'clock. After Lent, we'd still kind of stick to that routine. Knew right away that I was going to marry her. Matter of fact, the story is, first night I met her, I told one of my friends, I'm going to marry that girl. Didn't even know her name. Lo and behold, here we go, 33 years past.
So truly love at first sight.
Truly, for me anyway. And I think it was for her.
You didn't even know her name.
Didn't know her name, said I was going to marry her. Kind of migrated my way into there, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any children?
Have 4 children. William, who's 32. Elizabeth, who is 30. Boy, I hope she's not 29. If I said she was 30, she's going to kill me. If she's not. Yeah. Thomas is 25. Grace Ann is 22. I have 2 granddaughters. William has a daughter, Olivia, who's 10 months old. William and his wife, Erica. She's 10 months old and just the cutest thing you ever wanted to see. Elizabeth and her husband, Jeremy, have my first granddaughter, Gemma. She's 15 months old. And boy, she is a pickle and she is exactly like Elizabeth and I love every second of it. And Elizabeth is actually due to have another one in probably less than a month. Middle of May, she'll have our 3rd granddaughter. People say, oh, you needed a grandson. Nah, I'd much rather the girls. In my history, my girls were so much easier to deal with growing up. Boys were just into chaos and ruckus, and they were fun to be around. Yeah. But the little girls are just loving and sweet. That's kind of they cost 10 times as much as the boys. Yeah, as
what
they
was it
grow
like
up.
when the boys would come knock on the door and say, before you were mayor, say, hey, Mr. Clement, is so and so here? What were you like?
I was that old time dad who gave them hell. Maybe I can't say that on TV,
yes,
but
you can.
I used to give them that rough and tough.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still do to my son-in-law. And look, this is a big strapping 6'4", 6'5". He was in the Navy for 4 years. Yeah. He was stationed overseas in Japan. Probably really, really good athlete, even though I'll never let him think that he could beat me in anything. But I still give him the business. He'll hurt his shoulder or he'll have whatever, sprained ankle, and I just call him soft and I call him a little sissy. But it's great He comes from the same type of background as how Becky and I raised our kids.
Right.
And the same with Erica. William's wife is just sweetest down the bayou girl that you ever wanted to meet. And we are very fortunate that they were able to come into our family.
So would you say, take a little extra time to get dressed? I want to talk to him a little bit.
That was the funnest part. My daughters and wife knew that I was getting ready to give them the business, and they would be nervous and scared. And at the end, I would always, it was all good. But hey, that's part of being a dad.
You were just setting a precedent.
Absolutely, you have to kind of do that sometimes.
What time are you going to have my daughter in?
Yes, absolutely.
Don't be a minute late.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Are they all impressed that you're now the mayor, or is that just another title for dad or grandpa?
I think they're impressed, but I got to be honest with you. When I get home, I'm not mayor. I'm still dad. We've always lived our life that way. I've never, while I have this personality and outgoing persona, I'm a reserved kid, and that just comes back to being an only child. So I like my quiet time sometimes. But my kids, I can honestly say that night we got elected, my kids were involved, and they were just as excited as I was.
That was a great night for you.
It was. That was a culmination of probably about a year and a half of great family discussions, great family input, because I couldn't have done this without my wife. She was the rock behind this whole scene. People see it now. They didn't realize what was happening when it was going on. But I had to get buy-in, and I had to get the investment of my children and my wife. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been worth it. And I can still remember as we sat in the back of the foundry, we were watching the results come in, and slowly but surely we realized, just emotion. I'm getting emotional as we speak right now about it, because that time strengthened and galvanized my family like no other time. And truly remarkable to be a part of that.
We caught you at a good time, because we were sitting out there and people were coming up to us and going, "You know something we don't know?" I said, I know it's going his way.
Yeah,
It was overwhelmingly going your way.
Yeah.
That had to make you feel proud.
Very, very proud. As we went along with this journey, we thought we were moving in the right direction. We thought things were trending our way. So I had a good feeling. And I've said this story many, many times. It was probably about 4:00 in the afternoon, the day of, and the results came out at 8:00 that night. And I was sitting on my sofa, laying down, probably would have fell asleep if the Shawshank Redemption wouldn't have been on TV. And I was at peace with the job we had done.
Right.
It was just rewarding that we were able to accomplish what we set out to accomplish, because we had these plans and we stuck to the plans. Every now and then we wanted to veer off, but our team and our family kept us grounded and kept us on the plan. So very rewarding.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. Are you one of those people that has to have that itinerary lined out? In my business, I've dealt with a bunch of them, and in our business, we got to change plans midstream. I would imagine that as mayor, you're going to have some set stuff, but then all of a sudden they're going to come in, mayor, guess what happened?
It's amazing that some days I know what the day is going to entail. Some days at 6:30 or 5:00 when I wake up, I have to look at my calendar and see what's on tap for today. And then at 12:00, I have to do the exact same thing, because in the afternoon it's changed so quick. So long range, I am that person. I do have a plan. I do have a schedule. I do have a goal. Short range, I'm handling the change as it comes about.
And today at 9:00, you had to be taping one-on-one.
I feel fortunate to do this. I love doing this kind of stuff nowadays. Back in my, 20, 30 years ago, I'd have probably dreaded this. I'd have probably been nervous as heck. No, I was excited about this one.
Well, good.
And I got to spend time with a good friend.
Well, good. Thank you. Let's go back to schooling, because I know you got involved in athletics, and athletics sort of became your life for a long time. But
absolutely,
let's go on that journey. When did you get interested in athletics? Take me through your schooling too.
I guess probably 5th or 6th grade. When you get to middle school, they have the teams. we all played rec baseball growing up, or we swam in our pools.
Where'd you go to middle school?
I went to St. Joseph.
Okay.
St. Joseph. Now, I was always fortunate. I lived 6 blocks from school. I could walk back and forth. There was Pelche Park, which is probably our big park in Thibodaux. I was 8 blocks from there. I was able to that's where we spent our days, inside the recreation center, on the baseball fields. That's just what we did. So I played the basketball and baseball growing up. I was always too skinny to play football. All my friends played football. I wanted to. I was always too scared to get broken into, but I did everything else, right? You played the baseball, you ran track, which is still today my favorite sport that I ever played. Yeah. And it's all because of Coach Eddie Cole. He just brought out the fun and everything. Yeah. And I played basketball, and I did those through my high school career. Didn't play in college, didn't want to play in college, realized I had to get my education. I became a really good golfer in college and probably a really average student. But that's all part of it.
The former mayor is a pretty good golfer too.
The former mayor is probably the best golfer that we've ever had. And,
y'all played?
Oh yeah, we played many a times. I'm not even close to his level, but I'm still going to pretend like I can compete.
Who were some of your classmates or teammates in high school?
Lance Adjourn.
Yeah.
Brian Clement, David Duplantis.
Yeah.
Those people. Look, today they still are friends. I still talk to each one of them once a month.
Y'all had some good teams.
Really good teams.
So I was sitting in the press box, and we would film and announce, and me and Harry would announce the games. And if I'm not mistaken, Preston was there. That was Boyd there.
No, Preston was the head coach.
Preston was still there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. In my senior year, which I didn't play football, but we lost in the finals to John Curtis.
Yeah.
Lost 21-17 and had a shot. Our junior year, I think we made it to the semis in baseball. So yeah, we were competitive back then.
There was a certain feeling when you got to Edie White that, I guess I've always said this about Edie White, there was consistency.
Yeah.
There was, you saw the same coaches for years.
Yeah.
You saw the same brothers for years.
Yeah.
Some of them still had the corniest jokes that you could ever imagine. I won't mention any names, all right?
But insert Brother Pat right there.
Thank you. Brother Pat, he said it, not me. So let me ask you, so you're the only child. You mentioned you came from a split family, but you had people your whole life that pulled you back in.
Yeah.
And gave you purpose, gave you direction.
Yeah.
How lucky were you?
Extremely lucky. Extremely lucky that my mom made me go to Mass every Sunday. Mm-hmm. Extremely lucky that both my mom and dad and family were able to send me to and get a Catholic education. Mm-hmm. And look, the public schools, my wife was a public school teacher for 25 years. She retired there. Great education there, but there's something about having to go to Mass on Fridays every day when you get that Catholic education. There's something about having a religion class different than going on a Monday night catechism experience with other people. They had a plan for me, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And I always found peace at St. Joseph Church. That was my church I went to. I didn't deviate from that. I do now, based on Mass schedules and availability like everyone else. But I live right next to St. Joseph Church. 50% of the time, my wife and I are walking to Mass, 9:30. Our routine is get up and go to Mass at 9:30 every Sunday, and that's just something that I'm very, very fortunate to have the Lord in my life.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.